Alrighty, folks, that was excellent. A big round of applause to Burb, dealing with it all in good fun and dealing with that death and just kind of plowing on. Next up, as he mentioned, we are going to have a Castlevania Legends TAS by myself. This is something that I worked on a while ago. It was my first time delving into the TAS realm of things, which was a lot of fun, both in terms of learning the game, learning the TAS process, getting to connect with the community, and learning things about the game through others as well. So yeah, it's actually been a little while. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This should be fun. It's actually been a little while since I've even watched it. So I'm kind of in for some treats myself because it's been a while since I've even put eyes on it. But yeah, I'm gonna basically get this going here, and we can do some commentary over it. Awesome. So for those of you that are not familiar with a TAS, tool-assisted speedrun, of course, this is done with different tools, in this case in BizHawk, going through piece by piece, frame by frame, doing what you need to do to basically optimize the game in its entirety. We've heard about how these Game Boy Castlevania games are indeed quite laggy, and Legends is no exception. Legends came out in 1998, so it's an extremely late Game Boy title. It is just a regular Game Boy title. It is not a Game Boy Color title, although it does have like one of those funky special backgrounds for Super Game Boy. What you're going to see in this whole first stage is going to be collecting tons of hearts. One little benefit that you get in Legends that you don't in some other Castlevania games is your hearts actually don't get automatically decreased for points at the end of each stage, and you can carry them over. So I'm going to be grabbing as many hearts as I can, both because destroying the candles is going to reduce lag as we go, and I'm going to be saving those hearts as well for the next stage for the most part. What you see activated here is called Burning Mode. So Burning Mode is exclusive to Castlevania Legends. Sonia is essentially invincible during this time frame, as you can see, and I actually move a lot quicker than normal. One neat feature, we saw Burb mention knockback cancel. If you land on the same frame that you take damage from an enemy, you can actually cancel the knockback, which is super handy. You will see me in different parts. If I can't destroy bats, for example, to reduce lag, I may jump to influence their movement and have them fly off the screen a little bit quicker. But yeah, this whole first section is essentially going to be killing absolutely everything, jumping as little as possible. Similar to other Castlevania games, you get a little bit of an extra height boost when you whip in midair. So you'll see a little bit of use of that throughout. And it was mentioned earlier in the last couple runs, the Game Boy Castlevania games just, it really came through with the soundtracks, and I feel like Legends is definitely in with that same boat. So 100%. What does 100% mean in Legends? Well, each stage has an extra item that you can pick up. So essentially, before they removed Sonia from the timeline officially, she was the mother of all Belmonts, if you will. And the items that you're going to see me picking up in 100% are going to be representative of the sub-weapons that future Belmonts get. So you can see here we're going to pick up the axe, going to immediately backtrack. And you're also going to see a little extra in terms of stages. There's a optional stage in Legends that you're going to see me visit, because again, 100%. You've seen a lot of damage boosts and things like that. This is really some shenanigans. So these rope climbs are basically done by jumping off the rope to the right, moving back to the left, and just rinse repeat in quick succession. It only works jumping off the right of a rope. So if you don't have space on the right-hand side, you can't do that. But that is 110% TAS only. That is not happening otherwise. Traditional damage boost too. You'll see me turning around in places to take damage backwards. There's a little bit of funky camera scroll going on here. You're gonna see more consequence of that later and more severely later. It's not too bad. It's not too impactful in this part. But this was a lot of fun. This was a way for me to sit down and get familiar with the TAS process. It's not that complex because Game Boy obviously has limited buttons. If you want to picture what the process is like, I always describe it like a player piano. So if you've ever seen a player piano situation where it's got those big spools and it's got all the bumps on it, so that when it spins, or like even a music box in some smaller cases and whatnot, and when it spins, it'll play the music. Sometimes it's in disc form, etc. You guys get it. It's basically like that. All you're doing is you're taking the inputs, you're programming them all ahead of time, so it's absolutely optimal. And it's tedious. Like the lag management in this section made for a lot of tedious moments, and then the frustration of it is, and I'll talk about this after this boss fight. We've reached Batman. If you guys didn't know, Batman's in this game. Fun fact, enemies won't damage you if they're in iframes when you make contact with them. So you just saw Batman went through me and I didn't take damage. That was because he was in iframes. You also saw me hit with the back of my whip hitbox, which is also super handy. And of course, manipulated the pattern for optimal pattern. Stage 2, you're going to see me make use of all of those hearts that we picked up in 1. Stage 2 is essentially... the only sub-weapon that we have now is Time Freeze. So they're not technically called sub-weapons in Legends. They're... What are they? I'm brain farting. I want to say that they're like soul powers or soul abilities or something like that. But this one is Time Stop. You're going to see it's going to be useful for a lot of reasons. Avoiding enemies and also reduction of lag again. Because everything down to the music causes lag in this game. Little backwards damage boost there. Burning mode gets refilled every stage, so you're going to see me utilize that whenever possible. I'm going to use it once per stage, and in one exception, I'm actually going to use it, I believe it's 3 times in one stage. You can get it refilled by dying as well, and there's going to be a couple instances where Death Warps are actually going to be beneficial. You're going to see it activated again here, in conjunction with the time stop. She's just flying. Not letting anything happen here. And then, of course, rope shenanigans. Yeah, you're going to basically see me blow through all of those hearts. I came into this stage with something like 84 hearts, and you're going to see me go through them all in this stage. Making our way up to the top, despawning the enemy. Over to the ledge, and there's the stopwatch. Ironic, because I'm also kind of using the ability with the same skill. But that's the second of our mandatory pickups for Hundo. Yeah, you thought the adventure was fast, right? It's strange, because there's definitely, like, years and years later, 1998, and, you know, it is still what it is. But, I mean, props to them for putting out a Game Boy title that late. Game's actually surprisingly fun. So there's actually a zip, or I guess technically, sorry, a screen wrap to be more technically correct. If you scroll down onto a screen and then you do the rope climb trick, you basically can avoid the screen transition and you will appear in the screen below you. That's not going to be the only one you're going to see. You're going to see more. Right here. Same thing. Basically just bypass the transition trigger via the rope climb trick and force me into the floor. It's just faster than actually going down. A couple nice little screen wraps. That was a lot of fun. That was tech that was not in the previous TAS. The burst mode is only once per level, yes, unless you take a death, which you're going to see in a little bit of a later level, but it is only once per level otherwise. We've got chicken drumsticks from Candles. I know the other ones had wall meat as per normal. Sonya gets drumsticks from Candles. Oh look, we're down to 10 hearts. So this is going to be more of the same, manipulating the pattern, damage boosting in a way that I'm not going to lose time between hits because I'm keeping the boss in iframes. Big Daggerin. Manipulating his attack so his head goes down instead of up. And done. So you're not really going to see it here. Well, you saw a flash. So every time you get a new soul power, you automatically get swapped to it. So you're going to see me basically switch back to the time stop every new stage. More rope climbs here. You're going to see some canceling of knockback on ropes and whatnot as we go through. So I experimented with trying to take a death warp in this stage to see if it would be worthwhile to use burning mode a second time, and it ended up being super close. I believe it ended up being something like 1.5 seconds slower. Big rope slide to the side. Small dragon. And somehow trimming the back of his heel there for the final hit. So nice passing through the enemy there when the enemy's in iframes. This should be the corn candle. Danger drumsticks. I like that one. There's a little bit of a fast drop I found here. Basically, if you fall farther than normal and grab onto the screen transition on your way back down here after grabbing the sword, I guess, you end up spawning like halfway down the screen. So it saves you time on the chain on the way back. Yeah, this is where I basically tried to take the death warp, because I felt like burning mode in this stage might have been better utilized by a death warp instead of partial use, which you're going to see. Essentially, the best place to use burning mode is usually going to be long horizontal sections. And in this case, I couldn't make up the time for the death, basically, because I then have to recollect my whip upgrades. You know, that takes time both in seeking the candles and in the animation where it freezes for the upgrade portion. So what's going to end up happening here is you're going to see me kind of get a partial benefit out of it. I love how you can just skip that whole section. They want you to go on the cog there and across all the chains, and it's just like, no, just jump and grab it. You're joking. I'm preheating the oven for chicken right now, so get on it if you're feeling the urge, because, I mean, it's what, 7:30 my time? We still got another 3.5 hours left, almost. So, burning mode in the boss fight. The burning mode in the boss fight, because it's going to make us invincible. It's going to allow us to move between left and right and chase down the boss as effectively as possible. Alright, so this is the stage where we're going to take intentional death warps. One death warp, I guess, and one intentional death for the sake of getting burning mode back. You saw our new ability there. We used it to clear off the entire screen. It's a weak attack, so it'll take care of things like bats, but it won't deal with larger enemies. So it's good, but it's not great. And as we kind of use these later abilities, they also tend to be expensive. Yeah, burning mode continuing. Look at my chest power, yeah. So what you're gonna see me do here is Medusa is unique. I mentioned earlier that bosses don't hurt you when they're in iframes. Medusa actually has a blade attack, and the blade is a separate sprite, so that doesn't apply to that. You see me doing the knockback cancel here to take the death because we're right through the door. Activate burning mode again. In this case, burning mode is also extra beneficial on the death because I'm going to take another death for the sake of warp and getting burning mode back a third time, or getting it back for use a third time. You're going to see me damage down, and there's no point to upgrade my whips here. There's just no reason, so I'm not going to take the time with the small animation stop. We're actually going to kind of jump up through the floor there. What I'm doing here is I'm carefully managing my hearts because I'm going to need one more use of my sub-weapon, I believe it is. And I want to be on low enough health that after we pick up this next item required for Hundo, there's the sub-weapon use. These candles are all traps, by the way. You can see they're a lighter color. After we grab this sub-weapon, damage to get through the enemy, we're going to want to take the death because it'll actually put us back down at the bottom of this corridor, and it saves us having to drop back down. So it's actually a time save from the perspective of death warping, and it's a time save from the perspective of getting burning mode back. There's the holy water. Whip upgrade, you can thankfully drop down through platforms. You're going to see a little bit of a camera trick here. So the camera didn't scroll properly because I didn't jump up and around the ledge like it intended you to. And you can see the floor's all wonky here. You're going to start to see knights just fall through the floor. Oh, there they go. One thing I will mention before we get here, because you're not going to really have a great chance to see it when it pops up, Legends has really great like facial graphics. Look at these face pics if you can peek it for a moment when it comes up for Alucard. You probably can't now. They are huge. Like these facial graphics take up almost a quarter of the screen. Like it's the entire height of the message box. It's almost the same width. Alucard, not really too tough. Same premise as all of the other bosses. You're going to keep him in iframes. You're going to take effective damage boosts when he is in iframes, so you can ready up your next attack. You're going to manipulate his positioning, and his sword has a separate hitbox. He basically confesses his love for Sonya and says, you know, he was concerned that she couldn't, kind of like, she shouldn't be in this position, etc., etc. So this stage, you're going to see twice, or part of it twice at least. So a couple things are going to happen here. This stage has a natural exit to the secret stage, but that's slow, so we're not going to do that. What we're actually going to do is, if you remember the camera scroll trick that we just saw that offset the floor, we're actually going to use that in conjunction with the fast whip climb where you bypass the screen transition. We're going to screen wrap down, and we're actually going to warp into the secret stage. So it's going to be kind of a combination of multiple shenanigans that we've seen up until this point. But burning mode again, used effectively to get through here as fast as possible. Minding your currents, saying in where you have to when they're going away from you and, you know, give you that extra run speed. Taking care of bats because lag. And on to Werewolf. He just kind of jumps around. There were some shenanigans going there with hits as well. Basically, the new sub-weapon that we just got last stage is really good. It's kind of this, you see this little like crescent that flies forward. It's pretty cheap, does a lot of damage. And here's the scroll trick, into the wrong warp, into the secret stage. Yeah, we just bypassed the whole secret stage entry altogether and just, here we are. Slight turnaround there to take care of the enemies behind. Combination of keeping the enemies in iframes and landing on taking damage to cancel knockback. Backwards deboost there. So, what was true about last stage is we didn't come across any special weapon or whatnot. This is supposed to be like a destroy the enemy's kind of like room that locks you in, like almost like a trap room. But funny enough, you can use the full screen kill and it will kill the enemies when they're off screen. And that room ends based on how many enemies you killed. So what you actually saw there was me killing 2 full screens of enemies with 2 full screen sub-weapon attacks or soul attacks. There's our cross. And you didn't see them. They just don't appear. Making our way back. I'm not going to scroll the next screen. I actually have to do these jumps sub-optimally because if I do them optimally, the screen doesn't scroll far enough. You also saw I jumped. The screen doesn't scroll up far enough, and it actually takes me back to the room I just came out of. So you just need to make sure that you jump high enough there. Alright, so this is kind of our final corridor of our secret stage. And onto the butcher. So, attack from a distance. Again, manipulating position. Intentional damage. Canceling knockback. Full meal deal. There's your orb. So that's the secret stage. That takes us back to basically the halfway point of the previous stage. This is where we did the wrong warp. So again, you're going to see me climb this a little sub-optimally on the basis that I have to scroll the screen slightly differently. But we're on our way. This is where heart management really became stressful because like I was spoiled early on. I had 80 odd hearts, and now it's like I'm not only planning out my end Dracula fight, I need to get through these halls. Yeah. But we are 1 minute away from end, basically. TASs are a little bit different. I mentioned earlier that they start on power on. The same premise. A TAS will end on last input. The last input isn't necessarily in line with the last damage or the last hit because you can get that input started before that hit occurs. So that's just one thing to be aware of. In this case, you do need to dismiss a final text box and whatnot. So that will be the last input, will be the dismissal of the text box to start the credits. This black flashing here is the special ability you saw me get from the Butcher. Unlike the full screen hit that was weaker, this is actually a full screen clear. So this will take care of enemies regardless of strength. We are... Jeez. We are 10 seconds out from finish, I think. Something like that. It's close. I was probably a little off on my start time. Oh no, sorry. From power on is 2:22. My apologies. So now we're 10 seconds out. Activating burning mode for phase 2. And taking down Drac. So yeah, that's basically it. That's the Legends 100% TAS. It was tons of fun. If anyone is interested in learning about the TAS process, I highly recommend delving into it. If you're anything like me, you'll get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction out of it. It can definitely be a lot of work. It can certainly be time consuming, but it's super fun. After I did this, I took a little bit of a break and I went back and I did a Castlevania Chronicles Classic Mode TAS, which was a lot of fun as well. And I've been hinting at the idea that I'm going to come back in the summer and work on something new. I know the community has planted the idea that they would really like to see a new Dracula X bad ending TAS. So I'm open to that idea. I would like to TAS something from Super Nintendo. So that should certainly be a... That's definitely on my radar, I will say. So you get the end of... You get the special ending. Basically, if you don't do 100%, it just goes to this other screen and you get the credits and there's no actual end picture. In this case, for the 100% ending, you get to see Sonia overlooking the cliff, aka similar to other Castlevania games. And then you're actually going to see the continuation of the Belmont line. You're actually going to see a child born at the very end. So that's kind of your your benefit, and that's kind of your extra piece of lore that you get for doing 100%. Alrighty. Well, I hope you folks enjoyed that. I am going to throw it back to the intermission. We are going to move over to CastleMAYnia 64, Carry Any Percent, and that's coming up next by MusicBox716. Thank you guys again for supporting the event and for supporting the Castlevania community. Hang tight, we'll be back with more.